Welcome to the Fabulous Fifties and Beyond. I'm Jim Pollard with my wife, Janetta. We're your co-hosts. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that seems to have gained a lot of popularity in the last few years. We're going to be talking about your genealogy. You stay tuned and we'll be right back.
And he'd say, go with what you got. Start from where you are. Give it your best shot. Keep reaching for that star. Get in the race, keep your own pace, keep moving and never stop. Just go, go with what you got.
Our guest today is Vonnie Shelton. Vonnie is with the library, McCracken County Library, and when I asked them who was good in genealogy, they told me you were. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're glad to have you with us.
I'm very glad to be here and very glad to be able to talk about genealogy.
That's a love of yours, huh?
Yes,
that
it is.
Okay.
It is.
Do you, does the library have a special section on genealogy, how people, especially from this area, now my wife's from this area, I'm not, I'm from Nashville, but she could go in and start doing some historical tracking?
Yes, we have internet programs that we subscribe to that will cover the entire United States. Now we concentrate on this area, but we probably would have some information hopefully for anyone that would come in.
Well, I guess a basic question is what is genealogy and is it the same as family history?
Well, genealogy technically is finding out who your ancestors are, the basics of where they were born, when and where they were born and married, and when and where they died. And hopefully you would want to keep information about where those that have gone before are buried as well. Then family history really adds to it. It adds stories. You might add information about church attendance, occupations, anything like that that's going to add a little bit more to it. But we really use those two words interchangeably. Now when you start working on your genealogy, you record it on a special kind of chart called a pedigree chart, and that's just a big word for a family tree chart. But you put the information on in a certain way.
And you might not want to know who all your ancestors are, right?
Well, just about everybody has some black sheep in their families, but we don't worry about that. That just makes it more interesting.
There is an old bookstore, rare bookstore in Nashville on Elliston Place, right close to the hospitals. And he has the journals of the Civil War, just loads of them in there. So I love to go in there and start looking up the Pollard name. Interestingly enough, I tracked down one who was a newspaper man.
Oh, neat.
And he got captured by the Union Army and was put in prison in New Orleans. Well, it was kind of a house arrest, I come to find out, because he was still writing articles. And when he wrote one against Grant, I saw the document where Grant said to the commander of the prison in New Orleans, "Get that man back inside."
Well, you'll just find interesting things like that, unexpected things, whenever you're looking these things up. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Is this a popular hobby?
I think it's probably one of the fastest growing hobbies in the United States. That's what a lot of surveys have found. Now, the National Genealogical Society was formed in 1903, so people have been interested in it for a long time. But it increased in interest when Alex Haley wrote Roots in 1976. Right. But it just mushrooms, and there's been a real surge of popularity, especially in the last few years. In 2001, the United States Senate declared October Family History Month. So that's some indication of how popular it has become.
Right. Well, what impact has the internet made on it?
Well, it's made a tremendous impact, and I think that's probably one of the reasons for this explosion of interest in recent years. I got on a popular search engine this week and just put the word genealogy in and came up with 111 million hits.
Wow.
Now, there are large organizations that have free websites available that are excellent. And then you'll find individuals with websites about their family history, and then there are paid databases. So it's just amazing how much information is on there and how much more is being added all the time. More than likely, someone would find their family on there. But we do like to give you a word of caution that don't just write that information down if you find it. But don't take it as the gospel that it's absolutely 100% accurate. In any source in your family history. As you do your research, you want to check other sources and verify the accuracy, because you can find, I have one one ancestor that I have found about 6 or 7 different versions of the family tree. So you want to keep tracking until you can prove it as much as possible.
Is the, I guess I want to say the Bureau of Indian database for the Cherokee Indians, is that open source now?
There are some, and they're adding more and more of those all the time.
I have Cherokee blood in me. That's the reason I was asking that.
Yes, there are more and more of those records being made available online, and then we have some information of how you can find other sources for that information. And we have a little bit of information in some books in our library.
Because I was told
Cherokee.
to really get the real good documentation needed to go to Oklahoma. Because that was where the Trail of Tears, of course, ended up, was there, and that there is a lot of documentation and information out there. And then the Mormons do a lot, don't they?
Yes, they do. And there is a family history center here in Paducah. I don't know if people are familiar with that. It's on Birch Street. And if you go to their the Mormon website, which is www.familysearch.org, it tells the locations and hours of the various family history centers.
Now, what's in that center that we could have access to?
Well, they have CDs and databases, and of course they have their website. Then you can order microfilm and microfiche from them from Salt Lake City and use it there. You rent it and then they send it back.
Oh, okay.
Well, how do you describe the typical genealogist?
Well, I don't think there really is such a person anymore. We assist people in our library literally from age 16 to age 90 that are doing their family research, and from all occupations, all different interests. And the old idea has been that people are looking up their family history to try to find famous people that they can brag about. Some people probably do that, and that's fun if you do find that, but I think most people are just interested in finding more about their roots, regardless of who it is.
Or what they did.
Right, exactly.
But, that would be interesting, though, to see, learn something about them.
It really is. It's fascinating.
I know we have, in my family line, we are kind of Scotch-Irish history. And I've been up on the internet and typed in Pollard and looking for Irish connections, and they're there. And my aunt, who is the only living relative in that generation still, she went to Ireland a couple, 3 years ago, and she wanted to find the Pollard Castle, and they said, well, you don't want to go there now because they've converted that to a prison.
Well, you never know what you'll find.
I would love to go to Ireland and just to do some of that tracking and see over there. It's one of the trips. And of course, travel is her middle name, so she'll go anywhere we can go.
I would go.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. How can a person get started?
Well, we always recommend that the first step is you start with yourself. And you get one of those charts we were talking about, which we have at the library, or you can get them off of some of the websites. You start with yourself and you work back one generation at a time, filling in as much information as you have already. Now, when you do that, you're working from the known to the unknown, and that's really a more efficient way to do it. And you're looking for who, what, when, and where, basically, each step of the way. And then when you filled in all that you can, and nobody is going to probably be able to sit down and fill in all those blanks. When I started working on my family history, I didn't realize that my parents got married in Cape Girardeau, and they lived in Saline County, Illinois. So when I found that out, I asked my mother about it, and this was during World War II. And they ran off to get married and kept it a secret for a while. But they went to the courthouse at Cape Girardeau at night, and there were a lot of people there getting married. So that was real interesting to me. But after you've written down everything that you know already, then see if you can find any papers and documents, any kind of records. And then if there's someone in your family still living, older than you, ask questions, or see if anyone else in your family has done a family tree, because it may already be done. Just remember to verify it all the way along. And then you're ready to look for some outside sources. Do check on the internet, go to a family history center, a library, genealogy society, and at that point you're branching out to see if you can find some more information. And then it's good to check vital records, marriages, births, and deaths. Where those are located, again, is going to vary by the state and the county. It might be health departments, and it might be courthouses. And then another thing to start with is United States Census records. These are a gold mine of information as well.
They're all public information?
No, not all of them. They began in 1790. They've been doing the United States Census every 10 years since then, which I just think is amazing. And the most recent available to the public is 1930. And that's because of the federal privacy law.
Oh, okay. All right, we've this time went quick because we're talking about, I think it's something we're all interested in. But we're going to take a break, and Jeanetta's going to get with Pam, and they're going to talk about food and nutrition, something that I need to listen to, but I don't always. But you stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
We welcome Pam Ward back today. Pam is a registered dietitian with Western Baptist Hospital, and she comes each week to share some health tips with us, or some food ideas, or just whatever.
Just whatever.
Usually we talk about whatever it is, it's in moderation.
That's
right?
right, that's right. And today I want to talk about National Nutrition Month. March is National Nutrition Month, and obviously with what I do for a living, you know, every month is National Nutrition Month for me.
you, right.
But it's a month, you know, we want to take to get some principles out there, some concepts, some thoughts, whatever you want to call it, but just to make people a little more aware of the role nutrition plays in their overall health, their day-to-day life, you know, all those things, because sometimes we just forget that food serves more of a purpose than just for pleasure.
Pleasure, right.
You know, we get so hung up in it tastes good, and that's all that matters, and that's not all that matters. You know, we need to look at some other aspects of it.
Okay, so, and I know sometimes it's the way the food is prepared has something to do with the vitamins and all being retained.
It does. You know, like for example, your vegetables, a lot of times when you overcook vegetables, you lose a lot of the vitamins and the minerals. If you cook them into certain vegetables in too much water, it leaches out vitamins and minerals. So you're right. You know, that's something to consider how you prepare it. Obviously, portions, you know, again, we always talk about moderation. You know, no food is a bad food. Some foods are just better than others. And, you know, with those foods that aren't such great choices, the sweets, the snacky things, those type of things, you know, it's portions that we need to look at.
Okay.
But
And sometimes they say if you eat on a smaller plate, that helps.
that's right. You can fool yourself just a little bit. You know, eat on a smaller plate. Even do things like don't put food on the table. Leave it on the stove where you have to make a conscious effort to get back up and get it. Because a lot of times we just eat as a reflex. It's in front of us. We dish it out. We sit there and we're enjoying the conversation. You know, for my husband and I, a lot of times that's the first time we get to really talk during the day. And before you know it, you've put a little more on your plate, maybe another piece of bread, and you've eaten more than you intended. Whereas if I had to get up and go to the stove, make a conscious effort to get it, I probably wouldn't have done it.
I hadn't thought about that one.
Yeah, it's, you know, that one will work well. There's all kinds of things. Don't eat in front of the table or in front of the TV. Don't take a bag of chips, a bag of pretzels, whatever it may be, into the living room and eat. Pour some in a bowl so that you know when you're done, because again, you can eat so many more than you intended to. And you know, what people need to realize, and one of the concepts this month with National Nutrition Month, is the food choices you make today, the physical activity choices you make today, they are going to affect you for the rest of your life. You know, what you eat at 30, at 40, at 50, it's going to affect you at 60, at 70, hopefully at 80. You know, those choices you make today, as far as what you eat and how active you are going to impact you for the rest of your life.
And that's very important.
It is. I heard the other day, they were talking about a study that for the first time, basically ever, life expectancies are going down.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And one
I
of the
didn't know
reasons, it was just this week that I heard it. One of the reasons is we don't take care of ourselves. We don't exercise. We don't eat right. You know, we make poor lifestyle choices, and we as a society are starting to pay for it. And that's, you know, those choices again are so important. And again, another concept with National Nutrition Month is make smart choices from every food group. In other words, you know, you can eat fruit. Fruit is a wonderful choice, but you also need to eat vegetables. You need to eat low-fat dairy products. You need to eat lean protein sources. You have to make smart choices from every food group to have a balanced diet.
So you need some from every one of the different
You need
groups
some
every day.
Every day, that's right. You need at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And a lot of the research shows preferably 7, 8, 9, but a minimum of 5. And most of us, we don't get that. And it's not as difficult as it sounds. You know, grab a banana with your breakfast. Have a small salad with fresh vegetables with your lunch. You know, it's not hard. Have a piece of fruit as a snack. It's not hard to do if you make an effort to do it. And a lot of times we don't make the effort to do it.
That's true.
You know, and something else I know we're not always really good about, and another concept we want to stress this month is be safe with your foods. You know, for example, I grew up that you took meat out of the freezer and you set it on the cabinet or the countertop, and that's where it thawed. And that's not thaw it in the refrigerator, thaw it in the microwave. Don't just set meat out
And let it sit all day. Right.
We're going to talk more on another show about produce, but how many times have you bought produce at the grocery and you grab an apple and you haven't washed it? You know, you don't think about it. Not such a great idea. But be safe with your food. We think today we're so modern, you know, that foodborne illnesses don't exist anymore, and they do. In fact, a lot of times when we think we've got a flu bug, a stomach bug, whatever you want to call it, we actually have food poisoning.
Something that we ate.
Something that we ate. Don't leave food out when you're finished with it. And if you forget something and 3 hours later you go back and, oops, I forgot to put that up, throw it out. You know, be safe with your food.
Don't put it back in the refrigerator.
Don't put it back in the refrigerator. You know, if there's a chance that it has spoiled, is it really worth saving that $2, $3, whatever it may be? Is it really worth it to risk you or a member of your family getting sick?
No, of course not.
You know, and that's what we do. And just the last principle I want to talk about is we need to find our balance between what we eat and how much activity we do. You know, for example, some of us are willing to do more if we can eat more. And that's fine. If you can maintain a healthy weight, we don't have to get hung up on calories, just as long as your activity balances your intake.
What you're eating.
You know, you're doing something right. Now, that doesn't mean you're 75 pounds overweight and you maintain your weight. You know, I'm talking about a healthy weight.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us today, and I think our time is up, so we'll see you next week.
I will be here.
Our guest today is Vonnie Shelton. Vonnie's with the McCracken County Library, and we're talking about genealogy. Why do you think people are so interested or so seemingly interested today in finding about their family genealogy or their history?
Well, I think there's a lot of personal satisfaction in finding your roots, and it helps you know more about yourself and what has happened to make you who you are. Then, of course, a lot of people want to leave a record of their heritage for their descendants. for their children or grandchildren especially. And I think that's a great thing to do. And don't worry if they don't seem interested in it right now, because there's a good chance later on that they will be. So we say go ahead and get those records together and leave them with your family. And if you want to leave a copy with us, we would be glad to put it in our files as well. It's also a very absorbing hobby, and we have a lot of jokes about it being addictive, because once you get started, you just get hooked on it and you want to find out more and more. And it's a lot of fun because it's like working a puzzle. And you'll meet a lot of interesting people that are interested in the same thing. And I think when it's you're absorbed in this, it can kind of help you through some difficult times in life sometime. And like I say, it's just plain fun as well.
Oh, well, you said one thing I picked up on there. You actually have records that some people have put together at the library?
Yes, we do. We
For
have
this
some
area?
files on those. We don't have as many as we would like to have, so anyone that wants to print those out and bring them up to them, we would love to file them for other people to come in and look at. Then we also have a section of books on individual family histories, so you can find books on certain family names as well.
Okay, I'm assuming that this is in the collections department?
Yes, our genealogy room is the special collections department. That's our official name. Genealogy is the most popular use of our room. However, we do have some other things that we think are very interesting as well. We have Paducah history. We have Paducah newspapers on microfilm. They actually start in the 1880s and go up to the present. Now there are a few gaps in there, but from 1880 present we have most of the newspapers for Paducah.
Are they indexed on the computer where we could type in a certain word or place and find it?
No.
No. You were grinning. I was afraid that was going to be the answer. We live in a little community called Kaler.
Uh-huh.
And I've talked to some of the old people out there, and that place has got to have one of the most interesting histories of any area I've ever heard of. And I'd love to find out more. I'd like to write a history of it, or at least just for my own use to find out as much about that as I could. The place we live on, I've had people say, well, my parents walked through your place getting to their home from the grocery store down there where we are. And so I've always thought that would be an interesting history to write. The area I grew up in Nashville was called Woodbine, and one of the famous attorneys down in Nashville grew up there also. Before he died, he wrote a history of Woodbine, and it was called Flat Rock. That was the nickname of it. But I love history. I love to read about it and just hear about it, just sit down and talk with people, you know.
Well, we have a lot of history in it. We have Kentucky history and Paducah history. We have a lot of files on different clippings and articles on different subjects pertaining to Paducah, and some on Kentucky. We have Kentucky biographies. We have collections about Irvin Cobb and some other notable Paducah people. And so we just urge everyone to come in and see what else we have, as well as look up your genealogy. Now, our genealogy room is open, our special collections department is open the same hours as the library is, except that we close 5 minutes sooner. And we open at 9 o'clock from Monday through Saturday, and we open at 1 on Sunday. Then we're open till 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then we close at 6 on the other days. And we do want to give personal assistance and help you as much as we can, when we can, to find your family history.
Do you find that the younger generation is not as interested in history as they should be? And because I'm interested in it, I think they ought to be interested more, but you answer that.
Well, we don't have as many younger people coming into our room to look up local history as we do older people, but sometimes I think they get interested as they get a little bit older.
Right, and yeah, they have a lot of other things on their minds.
Yes, they do.
Rather, than that. But tell us a little bit about the census records.
Well, the first United States Census, as I believe we said, was in 1790, and the most recent you can see is 1930. Now, the census records are not alphabetical. You have to have a name index to look up a certain family. and people have transcribed those. We have some for some of the counties in books, but we also have something that we feel like is very special that we want people to know about. We have a paid subscription to Ancestry, a genealogy program that individuals can subscribe to at home, but the library subscribes to one called AncestryLibrary.com, and you can come into the library and use it on our computers free. And it has thousands of genealogy databases and records on it, and that includes all the United States Census records from 1790 through 1930. That's actual images of the handwritten copies.
Wow.
And then they have a name index, I believe, for every census as well. But one thing about the census that people get disappointed in sometimes, it started in 1790, but until 1850 there was only one name listed for every family, and that was the head of the household.
Oh.
Then there were columns of ages of members of the household, how many of a certain age group, in male and female. So 1850 is the first one that has the names of all the members of the household. And then the census for 1890, more than 99% of it was destroyed. So you have a 20-year gap in there.
Yeah. That's interesting. So they're located in the collections department of the library, and are all the genealogy books about Kentucky families?
No, now of course we concentrate on Kentucky and the 8-county area of the Jackson Purchase. We try to get everything we can on that, but we have other Kentucky counties. We have statewide books on Kentucky, especially early records. We also have books on Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Southern Illinois. And then we have DAR and Revolutionary records, some immigration and passenger lists. We have how to do genealogy books, some pension and military records. So we have more than just Kentucky.
Well, that's interesting. Now, you sent me some websites, and I gave them to our director, so I'm hoping he's putting them up on the screen right now, because one of them was the Family Search one that we talked about earlier, www.familysearch.org.
Right.
Now, the other one we didn't mention, I don't think, was rootsweb.com.
Uh-huh.
And then is the usgenweb.com, is that the...
That's a volunteer organization where individuals in individual counties put their information on there. It's free, and it covers the whole United States. So you can search by state and then county, and that's an excellent source to try. More and more is being put on there all the time as volunteers add information.
Okay.
And I wanted to add, in our collection, it's a continuously growing collection as well.
Well, Vonnie, we appreciate you being with us today, and I've certainly enjoyed this, and I know Janetta has too. And
Very interesting.
Very interesting. And genealogy is an interesting topic to talk about. My wife was the one that thought of it, and I thought it was great. We want to encourage you to come back next week and to view our program. Each week we'll try to have an interesting topic on there for you. Check our website, check out the library's website, to the places that are there, and the things that you might want to talk about. Again, we're glad that you've been with us today, and you come back again next week. Janetta, give them our address.
P.O. Box 7, Bose, Kentucky 42027.
Remember, use it or lose it.
Can't see as well as I used to. Can't run as far or as fast. Sometimes I think that the old me is becoming exactly that. But when I